If I were to ask you, what is your favourite Silent Hill game? You'd typically say 2 or 3, right? But what if I told you that Silent Hill 4 actually had the potential to be better than all of its predecessors? You see, during the production of Silent Hill 3, Team Silent were also working on Silent Hill 4, The Room. And, after Silent Hill 3 dropped, the numbers weren't as crazy. They didn't sell as much as Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2, I believe, sold over 1 million copies. And Silent Hill 3 sold about 3 to 400K. After that, Silent Hill 4 was already halfway through production. But Team Silent originally intended for Silent Hill 4 to be a much bigger game with a lot more bosses, more locations, and more things to do. But Team Silent actually stated that Silent Hill 4 wasn't going to be your typical Silent Hill experience. As you can tell, they went with the first-person POV when you're in the apartment. And they also wanted it to be a game where you couldn't really escape from the horror, because inside of Henry's apartment, there's also hauntings. And those hauntings actually damage you. It even leads to zombies coming out of your walls and damaging you in your own home. Now, when I was a kid, Silent Hill 4 was one of the first Silent Hill games that I ever bought, and I was genuinely terrified out of my mind. I couldn't even finish the game when I was a kid. It was overall just very scary and too confusing for me at the time, so I had to wait till I was an adult. I strongly believe that if Team Silent had a longer time period to work on this game, it could have been even better than 2 and 3, and I'm standing on that. People like to poke fun at the funny combat in this game, and they like to poke fun at the inventory system, but if you ask me, I actually prefer this inventory system over the other ones. Also, let me know down below what your favorite Silent Hill game is and what you think about Silent Hill 4 in general. Now, of course, Silent Hill 4 was a rushed game because Konami had to make deadlines meet. And this would unfortunately be the last game that Team Silent gets to work on. Team Silent was responsible from games 1 through 4. These people are who created what you know as Silent Hill today. After the dismemberment of Team Silent, the latter games in the series didn't sell well at all. Many fans voiced their opinions about the series being essentially over after Silent Hill 4 and Silent Hill Origins, because the games after that weren't really that good. Now, the main issue that people complain about in Silent Hill 4 is that the first half of the game involves Henry going through 5 stages. Henry has to go through the subway world, the wish house world, water prison world, building world, and then finally the apartment world. And in the second half of the game, you have to go through those same 5 stages, just with Eileen.
Eileen, relax!
Now, Eileen is Henry's neighbor. Now, inside of Henry's apartment, there is a hole that peeps directly into Eileen's bedroom. And, one might think he's using this hole as a sort of goon hole to kind of watch Eileen and see what she does, to watch her get undressed, to watch her play with herself, things like that. And they kind of hint at that later on in the game when you get to the hospital section. Because you find a little Easter egg with like a ginormous Eileen head with some rather raunchy audio in the background. But Henry never once alludes to the fact that he might have been getting off at watching Eileen do the peephole. He actually never even speaks about her at all. He rarely has any dialogue in the game. But we can't really read his thoughts. But if anything, he does check the peephole regularly just to see how Eileen's doing.
Huh? Hamburger.
Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance! But not for me!
So Silent Hill 4 is the first Silent Hill that features a companion that stays with you for the rest of the game. Now, you don't start with them, but after the halfway point of the game, Eileen is stuck with you until the end. Now, there is a segment in Silent Hill 2 where you are with Maria for a small portion of the game, but however, that isn't the same as Silent Hill 4. But in order to really understand the story of Silent Hill 4, you have to know about Walter Sullivan. See, Walter Sullivan is a character you may have heard of if you played Silent Hill 2, because you do see about him in a newspaper, and then you do see his tombstone in one of the later sections in Toluca Prison. Now, Walter Sullivan was abandoned as a kid, but he lived in room 302. which happens to be the room that Henry Townsend lives in. So Walter was born in room 302, but he was abandoned shortly after birth, and he grew up for the rest of his life in the Wish Home. So the Wish House was essentially a place where orphans grew up, and while he was living over there, he came into contact with the Order, and it essentially was a cult, if you will. And they kind of brainwashed him into thinking that he has to complete this ritual called the 21 Sacraments. And with that being done, it will result in him seeing his mother again. But that isn't quite what happened.
Why the fuck you lying?
So the real reasoning behind the 21 Sacraments was so that the Order could birth another god, as we've seen them try to do in previous Silent Hill games. So the 21 Sacraments essentially means that 21 people have to be sacrificed for the prophecy to be fulfilled. Walter, being hell-bent on the number 21, does not stop until he really gets 21. So at the beginning of the game, you might see 13 or 14 handprints outside your apartment's peephole, and by the later half of the game, you'll see 19. And there's only 2 more people left to fulfill the prophecy of the 21 Sacraments, that being Eileen Galvin and you, Henry Townsend. So if you get the bad ending in the game, which is the 21 Sacraments ending, that means you did everything wrong and you and Eileen did not survive. If you want to get the best ending, you have to ensure that Eileen takes minimal to no damage throughout the entire playthrough, and also you have to cleanse your house of all hauntings that may appear with the holy candles that you pick up on your playthrough. So pretty much Henry Townsend finds out that his door is sealed shut, and he doesn't know how it got like that, but nobody can hear him yell for help, and nobody can hear him bang on the door.
Huh?
He is completely shut in, and he doesn't know what to do. But suddenly this hole appears. Now this hole is his opportunity to get out and go into the other world. Now these various holes that Henry finds in his apartment are the only way that he can get out and make a change and put an end to the 21 Sacraments. Because if Henry was unable to leave his apartment, I am 100% sure he would have succumbed to the hauntings and the game would have been over pretty early. So as you progress about the game, you find clues here and there about who this Walter Sullivan guy may be, and you run into a few people who describe him as him in his kid form.
Are you the kid he was talking about? You live in that apartment too, huh?
And him in his adult form.
B, we got that scrap on you. What else, huh?
I'm a fuck with.
Alright, bro.
So by the end of the game, you fully know who Walter Sullivan is, and he becomes the main stalker while you're carrying Eileen with you throughout the game. Also, Silent Hill 4 is one of the only Silent Hill games where you can actually heal just by going back to your apartment. So as soon as you enter the apartment, Henry's HP bar starts filling up until it maxes out, but you can only use this tactic for about halfway through the game, because after the halfway point, when you collect Eileen and you must be with her for the rest of the game does not allow you to recover HP in your apartment. So upon entering the hole for the first time, Walter suddenly finds himself on an escalator going downwards, and he's quite confused by that. But after getting off the escalator, he sees a lady in the distance. Turns out it's a gorgeous lady named Cynthia. Now, Cynthia tries to talk to Henry and explains to him that this is all just a dream, but at the same time she asks him for help on how to exit the subway area. Now, she promises him a special favor, but shortly after that she goes into the bathroom to puke, and Henry waits, and then he gets concerned and then goes inside and follows her and finds out that nobody's there, but he finds a hole. So he goes into the hole, goes back to the apartment, phone rings, and it's Cynthia telling him that he needs to come, and if he needs a coin, there's one inside in the bathroom. Then he goes back to see Cynthia. Cynthia is not even there anymore. It's just a statue of her holding a coin. Then he makes his way down the subway station using the coin. He finds Cynthia trapped in one of the cars in the subway. He ends up opening the door for her. They both make their way through the subway station, and Cynthia goes on ahead without Henry. And let's just say when Henry finds Cynthia, it's a pretty disturbing scene. Yeah, so Cynthia was also a victim of Walter Sullivan. He goes back to his room, realizes that the hole in his bathroom grew slightly, nonetheless chooses to enter it. He gets teleported into the Wish House section. Now, the Wish House section is where you uncover the secrets and past of Walter Sullivan and what was going on in that specific area. Oh, and remember the chocolate milk that was in your refrigerator at the beginning of the game? Yeah, you're going to need to give it to this guy to progress throughout the story.
Oh man, that was awesome. Here, take this. There's something written on it.
After drinking the delicious chocolate milk, this guy decides, you know what, today's going to be my last day on Earth. So everybody you meet in this game that has any significance towards you is going to be a victim of Walter Sullivan. Alright, so after the Wish House section, you get teleported into the water prison section. And the water prison section, there's a guy trapped in a cell asking him to free him. That person is Andrew DeSalvo. Now, Andrew DeSalvo ends up being another victim of Walter Sullivan. So yeah, the water prison section is pretty much all just you freeing him and escaping as well. So yeah, you go through a bunch of holes. It's a bit of a puzzle. But yeah, once you save him, the water prison section is over, and then you get teleported into the building world. So the building world kind of revolves around Richard.
Damn it.
Now, Richard is Henry's neighbor, and at the beginning of the building world, they have an interaction, and they kind of go their separate ways. Richard was having problems with Walter Sullivan because he suspected that something was going on.
Say, you look a lot like a little punk that I once caught sneaking around there. Do you know something about what's going on?
Yeah, Richard gets electrocuted by Walter Sullivan, but does leave us a nice handy revolver that we will use on Walter in the final boss fight. So shout out to Richard. And then after we finish the building world, we make it to the apartment world. Now, the apartment world is where Eileen gets sacrificed. But it's not over yet. So now Walter can be seen outside of Henry's apartment pointing directly at Eileen's room, saying that, hey, if you don't do something, she's going to get gotten too. So then we check on Eileen. So upon entering the hole this time, we end up getting transported to the hospital section. Now, the hospital section is where we find that Eileen is being held in. The first thing you might see when you get to this section is her purse on the ground. This is also the section where you find the greatest enemies ever created in Silent Hill history. So as I showed you guys before, when we do find Eileen, she's in a state of shock and she's injured. As you can see, her hand is wrapped up and her leg is pretty beat up as well. But she ends up having to trust Henry as her way out because she doesn't really know what's going on herself. So
you're the only chance I've got.
You guys form a bit of a partnership. She becomes your companion, and for the rest of the game, you guys are stuck together. And this is where the game only gets harder because you can no longer recover HP while inside Henry's apartment, and this is where Henry's apartment starts to become haunted. But yeah, not to bore you with the rest of the game, it's literally just a repetition of everything I just told you, except you're doing that with Eileen. Now on to the final boss fight. Now, despite Silent Hill 4 being the only game to feature a health bar on your screen without having to pause your game, and despite it having no real boss fights throughout the game, I will say it does deliver at the end because the ending boss fight is a little bit intricate. So as we know, Walter is invincible and you will encounter him very frequently every time you're with Eileen, and if you try to damage him or do anything, it doesn't really affect him. He just keeps on coming at you. And the key ingredient to making Walter mortal is a piece of his umbilical cord. So you find it at the end of the game, and that umbilical cord is what you feed to the god monster in the final boss fight. Now, before you're able to even damage Walter, there's about like 7 or 8 prongs that you have to use and stab the god monster with after you feed it the umbilical cord. And then only then will Walter become mortal. Then you can commence the final boss fight. Now, this boss fight has many layers to it because Eileen is a part of it as well. Now, if you had a great playthrough and you took minimal to no damage with Eileen, then she will walk across this platform very slowly, because remember, like I said before, she's also part of the sacrifice. So she's kind of fighting her own battle and you're fighting Walter as well. But if you had a good playthrough with her, it's a very low chance that she's going to get crushed. But if you had a bad playthrough, she is going to be walking at light speed, essentially walking right into her demise very fast, and you're not going to be able to defeat Walter before she walks into that grinder. The key thing here is timing, because you don't want to take too long. And boom, there we go. So we defeated Walter. And at the end of the game, if you cleanse your apartment of all the hauntings, and if you took very low to minimal damage with Eileen, then you should get this ending. As for the other endings, you can definitely look them up. I'm not going to post every single one of them on here. But yeah, guys, all in all, I just made this video just to shed some light on Silent Hill 4 because I love this game. It is my most played Silent Hill game. I feel like it's just as fun to play as Silent Hill 3, if not more. I'll go as far as to say Silent Hill 4 is the greatest concept of a Silent Hill game we've ever seen besides PT. Now, if PT came out, 100% hands down, that could have been the best Silent Hill experience we would have ever gotten. But yeah, man, just wanted to highlight some of the lore, some of the good, some of the bad. But that's going to be it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and let me know down below what your favorite Silent Hill is, and also just let me know in general what you think about Silent Hill 4. But yeah, it's going to be it for today, guys. Catch you later.